right, guys, so I'm not going to be taking too much time because I know you have some Eureka to internalize as well. But I am just going to talk about differentiating literacy instruction in a more digital way, because in second grade, we are needing them to be able to analyze not only in paper form, but going from the screen to paper. So in first grade, there are some things that you can do to implement this strategy and this skill. And I don't have a presentation per se, but I wanted to show you guys some things that may work for you. I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. I always get like this, sorry. In benchmark, there are some ways that we can have the students do the mentor text and use it in more of a paper to pencil, like plain paper to pencil strategy. So for first grade, you guys are on unit 3. So you guys can take the mentor text that you are working on and project it onto the screen. And benchmark is really nice because it also has an analyzing tool on here already so that you can model for them, but you can obviously use your whiteboard and use the marker and just say, hey, these are what things that we can look at. And on student paper, you can give them construction paper, notebook paper, however you guys want to use your materials, and have them transfer the information that you guys talk about analyzing from the screen onto the paper, because at the end of the day, when they are taking tests in second grade, they're using their screens and they're having to translate that information from screen to paper. And so what we could do is every student has their piece of paper and we're going through, let's say the topic is the central idea. So we can read chorally, and then of course, depending on the levels of your students, you can have them partner talk about what they read or what they heard if you do a choral reading. And then you can say, in the first paragraph or in the first section, what was the central idea? Because when they get to second grade, a lot of the questions are going to be what is in this paragraph? What is the main idea of this paragraph? What is the author's purpose of this paragraph? And so separating each of the sections or each of the paragraphs will have more of a effect when they get to second grade, and they can say, okay, this is defined as a paragraph and this is the central idea of it. And then you can have them write this, of course, again, depending on the levels of your students, you can either have them draw a picture of what the main idea of that paragraph was, or the entire passage, or you can have them use a sentence stem and say the main idea or the central idea of this paragraph was, or this section was. And that way, on their paper, they're using the screen, but translating that information onto a blank piece of paper. And then vice versa. You can do the printed mentor text and have them, instead of writing in the mentor text, you can have them writing on a blank piece of paper, because that's what they're going to have to do in second, third, fourth, and fifth grade for STAR. Another tool is you can assign different books or different units to a student. So let's just do this. Oh, it's not gonna let me. I'll just use a second grade one for an example. If my computer won't work. So right now we are finishing up our Unit 2, and I can click on assign assessment, and you can actually assign a test to them. Let's just say all students, due date today. And then of course you can enable audio, so for those students who need accommodations for it to be read to them, you can have that, go ahead and put that in. And then you just click on save. And when the students go into their benchmark on Clever, they will see their assignment from you, and then they can do the assessment on the computer versus the paper copy that we're used to. And this will also, there we go, and this will also help our students to be able to transfer what they've read on the computer. Let me see if I can open it. Show. Oh my goodness. Sorry guys, my computer is being so weird. Anyway, it'll pull up eventually. And then when you have them take the test, instead of underlining on the assessment, you can have them analyze it on the computer if that is enabled and everything. But if you have it so that they have the piece of paper and they can read the passage and then write the information or take notes on keywords or just translate that what they're reading onto the paper, it'll help them get into the habit of going from screen to paper and vice versa. Another strategy, because I know you guys have all of your computers, right? No? Okay, so I know the computer shortage is a real thing and it's a real struggle. So another thing that we could do is have it projected and then just have them write it on a piece of paper. That way you're differentiating, but also including every student is doing the same thing. And you can do it for small groups as well and have them maybe read a decodable reader and then say, okay, what is the keyword or the main character, and you can have them write it on their desk or on a whiteboard or whatever you guys use in your classroom. Here is an example of a second grade passage, and this one is nonfiction. This is talking about the two different sections. We have our questions. So the author wrote this section too, and we're talking about the entire thing. So we can just talk about how the main or central idea is keeping the country clean, and then supporting those main ideas, we can then have the students write in different facts that they learned throughout the text, and specifically focusing on those paragraphs. In paragraph 2, I learned that blah, 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 blah. That way they're getting into the habit of focusing on the main idea and the text evidence, but in specific sections. And I'm not quite sure about first grade, but we have performance tasks in second grade. And this is also a great way to integrate the writing portion of comprehension. So it says to read the section, watch the video. So they're getting 2 different ways of seeing the text. They're getting it in print and they're getting it in a digital form with a video. So it's supporting those students who need that extra support. And then it says you may want to take notes about each source. So giving them that piece of paper, having them do one side for just the reading portion, and then maybe do the other side for the video that they see. And that's something that they can learn to compare one form to another. You can write the information that you see on the written form of the passage or the section, and then what is the difference between the video? So getting them used to that differentiation between print and digital. And then it's talking about after you examine each source, you will answer some questions. So integrating that comprehension, it will be scored. Think about what you have read and seen. You should also help to prepare to write a report based on the information in the sources. So that can be something that you do in writing, where it's, I read the section U.S. Park Police, this is what I learned about. And they can do it in more of a formal writing, of course, to your students' needs. And then you may go back and review the sources and refer to your notes at any time. Write your answers to the questions in the spaces below. So it's really integrating all different types of skills: reading, listening, comprehension, and writing. So performance tasks are really good strategies to integrate everything that you have to do, but in one activity. So it's not like you have to do anything extra. It's right there for you. And those are all in Benchmark. Another tool I like to use is RAS Kids, or Learning A to Z. And you can assign different books to them as well on here and do quizzes. And what's really nice is, let's say you have a student who's a C. You can assign, I might have already signed this one. Let's do airplanes, since we're going on the nonfiction. I swear, these things are not working for me today. You can assign it, and what you can add to the assignment is a constructive response. And that's gonna be something that we really focus on in second grade, is those constructive responses, or those short responses. Because on School City, the last question that they always do is a written response, and students need to type their answer. So, I know that's a little daunting even for second graders. So, something that I like to do is have them, these are just the examples of the multiple choice question. So, another like comparison question. For the writing portion, you can have the kids do like a seesaw activity where they type in a response to a question. So it could be anything like, who is the main character, or who are the main characters of the text? And they could type, and again, use those sentence stems. The main character in our story, Hansel and Gretel, are, and giving them the opportunity to actually type their response. You're gonna have to give them extra time, of course, because getting those, here we go, getting those little fingers typing, it's gonna be a time consuming thing. It's gonna take a lot of practice. They're gonna get frustrated, you're gonna get frustrated. But if we are able to get them used to at least where the letters are on the keyboard on their Chromebooks, then it's gonna help them in the long run. So if you wanna assign the quiz, then you can assign it. Another thing is progressively back off on the listening and the reading to the students, unless the student has that accommodation forever. Giving them the opportunity to actually read it is gonna help with their comprehension skills. Right now, we're getting everybody just having it read to them, but towards the December timeframe, those things need to be died off, and they're just gonna have to read it themselves. So you have that quiz. That quiz is always gonna be a multiple choice. But then if you click this box, it's gonna include a constructive response question on that quiz. You can assign it to the students, and what's also really nice is even with assigning something from learning A to Z, you can differentiate for the students' reading levels. So if a student is an A, then you wouldn't give them an L book. You can do it, but you're still getting that data because it tracks it, and it's allowing you to be able to know, okay, I need to pull this student a little bit more for small groups, or this student is really struggling with that constructive response regardless of the level book, and then you can help support them in a smaller setting. So you can assign it, assign a due date. If you want a due date, let's do a couple of students, and it usually allows you to go ahead and assign it. Sometimes it'll make you do either listen or read. You're gonna click on the read always, and then the listen is gonna be that one that we're gonna slowly go off of. And then once the kiddos get into their learning A to Z on Clever, then they'll see that assignment and they can do it. And that's something that while you guys are working with small groups or intervention groups, that's something that they can do on their own independently for that extra practice. But the quiz is something that we can do to help support that typing with that constructive response and that higher level thinking, but also you can give them that extra piece of paper so they can write different notes on the piece of paper to help them answer those multiple choice questions. Epic is also a really great program that I like because you can give each individual student an assigned book that they have to read independently. One thing that we really stress in second grade is having them read independently, whether it be on the computer or in print. I like to do book club books, and so each group is going to have an assigned book based on their reading level. So again, that differentiation of instruction. And then once a week or so, you'll meet and discuss different comprehension questions and have them write different responses. This way, they are taking what they're reading from print version and they're still translating it into their higher level thinking. And it gives them the opportunity to really think about their reading and think about how they can respond to their reading. And having you as a guide is going to enable them to respond in the appropriate way, but having you there to prompt if needed. So I like book club books, and we have a great resource library. So if you guys haven't used it already, I'm sure you guys already have. They have all of the leveled books, and so if you have 2 or 3, 4 students who are a D, then you can grab a D and progressively make it harder for them to get that academic reading level and not just your independent reading level. Because we want to steer away from just doing independent. We want to get them thinking about their reading on a higher level. So that gives them the opportunity to think about their reading. It gives them the differentiation that they need. They're focused on the comprehension, they're focused on their writing, and it enables them to translate information from one resource to another in a supervised way, you know. And Epic is really good too because it gives the students a variety of different genres. You have poetry, you have nonfiction, you have fiction, you have chapter books. It gives them comic books and graphic novels. You have a read to me audiobooks, you have videos that go along with it, and all of it is by grade level. So if you have an account already, you can set, you can change it so that instead of doing the grade level, you can do the Lexile level if you would rather, or AR level. So you have that ability to determine how you want the students' books to be organized. So another strategy that I use, I know it seems silly, but I use a lot of silent videos because they're then now able to create their own kind of story, but they're using the context clues of what they're seeing to determine and infer what's going to happen next, what the characters are doing, what they're feeling. So we're getting that character description, we're getting the context clues, we're getting the main idea or the central idea, and no words are being said. It's just what are they seeing? And for first grade, this might be something that they really focus in on because then we can talk about that oral language. So even before we start really writing, we can talk about that oral language. What are you seeing? What do you notice? What do you wonder? And asking all of those questions allows them to think deeper, but then it creates that creativity and it builds upon those skills that they need for reading. So I like to use silent videos. My kids last year loved Charlie Chaplin because he was really goofy and really funny. Even though they were all in black and white, and of course way before our time, the kids loved it because they were able to infer what was going to happen and everything like that. So that is a great strategy to use as well, and it just helps support the differentiation, and it helps to support the literacy instruction across the board from reading, fluency, and comprehension and writing. So yeah, thank you guys. I know it was a lot of information and I was really talking fast because I was like nervous, but I hope this does help because at the end of the day, like, you guys are preparing your kiddos for second grade and we're preparing them for third grade. And since STAR is very writing strong, and we want to get them used to the digital and the paper and the digital, trying to get them used to all of that. It's so much, but if we take the steps now in y'all's grade, it's gonna make it so much easier in the long run. And if we start implementing these strategies now, we still have plenty of time, and trying to make it as easy for you guys as possible, being able to kind of cluster all of these skills into one activity, it would make your life a lot better too. So just kind of things to think about, and if you have any questions, I'm right downstairs, so I'm not far. But if you have any questions, I think it's pretty straightforward. So, all right. Well, thank you for your time.